Well, I know many of you out there want to hear more about the Retro Freak console and also want me to do that comparison video with the Retron 5, and I am going to get to that, but this time around I wanted to talk about another console that plays old school games that I got my hands on not all that long ago, and that is the AtGames Sega Genesis. With this, you can play your favorite Sega Genesis games in a way you never wanted to play them before, so let's take a look. The current version of this console comes in a mostly black box that prominently displays the 3 Mortal Kombat titles on the front. It's a bit curious that the pictures of the games are shown are actually of the arcade versions and not the Sega Genesis games. Flipping over to the back of the box, you see a variety of games built into the console. The console boasts 80 titles that are built in, however half of those are homebrew type games which are all extremely generic. There's a few clones of other games and it's nothing extremely special, so I won't get into much detail on those, but the actual Genesis games are mostly top-notch, all games that you'd want to play, with possibly a couple exceptions. But there are a few problems. Big ones. For starters, there's the controllers. The supplied controllers are wireless 6-button models which are extremely cheaply made. Use infrared connectivity like the wireless joysticks of the Atari Flashback models and the Hyperkin Retron 3. Controllers are of the smaller footprint style like the Retrobit and other brands' 6-button controllers for the Genesis. Compared to a real Sega 6, they feel extremely cheap, and the responsiveness of the infrared technology is not the most reliable. So I'm not even bothering, I'm sticking to a real Sega controller. Aside from the poor controllers, there's something else that seems a bit off about these games, most notably the sound. Here's what I mean. It's really amazing just how out of whack the sound is, and it really just throws off the whole gameplay experience for me, and I'm sure I'm not the only one who feels that way. The next big issue is the control, and even using original Sega controllers, the feel of playing the games is just not quite right. It's like there's something wrong with the input sensitivity of the console itself. I spent a good chunk of time playing these games side by side on my actual Genesis Model 2 and the AtGames model with the exact same controller, and the difference was extremely noticeable. The console has the ability to play Sega Genesis cartridges, a feature which is absent from all the other AtGames consoles they made, which is a pretty neat feature. However, like with many console and chip systems, the overall build quality and the compatibility is kind of a crapshoot. I've heard others report around 75% of the Genesis library and some Mega Drive games will function on the console. Naturally, add-ons like the Power Base and the 32X will not work here. Truth be told, there's really not too much left to be said about this thing. The Genesis was just one of those systems that's so popular, a lot of its games can be found elsewhere nowadays. Compilations for the PC, compilations for other consoles, most notably, I know there was one with about 25 to 30 games for the Xbox 360, and not just that, but then there's Virtual Console and Xbox Live Arcade. You can find a lot of these games that way. Heck, if you can emulate, Genesis is an easily emulated system nowadays. But while we're at it, if I'm not mistaken, you can find yourself a used Genesis 2 console for cheaper than what these things can be found for in stores, so truth be told, there is no point to having one of these things. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. Take care.